Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Making History in Kerbal 1.4. What are we going to do this episode? I think it's going to be a CommSats episode, just like the recent series on my channel as well, the Realistic Progression 1. You're more than welcome to see that. Things are going to be significantly easier, I think, in regular Kerbal. Let's go and take a look. I don't think we have any particular things that will help us get some more money. No, they all seem to be about the moons now, so that's fine. We will get to those. But I want a CommSat network first. I want some way of having relays up there, or even to demonstrate the concept and get us into geosynchronous orbit, or geostationary orbit, depending how well things go. Let's take a look at the vehicle we're going to use. So here it is. It's more like a rifle bullet than anything else. I'm not playing with many mods. Obviously, this is mostly vanilla, aside from things like Kerbal. And I'm going to introduce another mod later in the episode for station keeping. I want to thank a guy called Robert who put in the comments about that particular mod. I did mention in it was either in this series or in the RP1 series that I was annoyed that there isn't a station keeping mod. There is. It's good. So we will go and take a look at that later. However, first we've got to get things up there. So if I just take off the rocket itself, we'll see we've got three fairly standard CommSats. So we've got some lights, some batteries, some fuel tanks, and there is a little spark engine, some solar panels, a couple of antennas, and that's pretty much it. We're going to want to, I guess, just set the actions up for these. So if we want to set the actions for those, we want to extend the antennas. Yeah, I don't think we ever want to extend the antenna. I don't think we ever want to retract them again once they're out, so I'll make sure I do that. Everything is flown by one of these octos, so I don't think we get excessive SAS. This is going to be quite a long vessel. This is going to be 3 separate satellites all at once. So to do that, it's not terribly difficult. I was considering like a thrust plate, but because we don't really have any mods, the only analog to that in making history is these. You can get engine plates and you can set them to have multiple nodes on them. However, I couldn't get it so that these 3 would sit alongside each other. I didn't want to let me attach them to other nodes. I would need another part and then we could attach them probably, but this will do for now. That would have just made the thing less long, which would have been probably more controllable. Let's give this a go and see if it flies. We've got a couple of, well, oops, we better move that up first of all. We've got a main skipper engine. We've got access to the mainsail. It's a little bit too powerful for this. It would be like 2.5 thrust to weight ratio. It would rocket off the pad. Not to use a pun, but we have the skipper anyway, and we've got a couple of boosters. They will drop off to 40 seconds or so, and then we've got, there we go, that phase. We've got then our fairings. Did I set this up correctly? 2 sides. Let's up the ejection force. Head to clamshell. Deploy. I think that's fine. Then we're going to, unusually for a rocket, we're going to get rid of the top section first, which is this first satellite. Then we're going to get rid of the next one, then the next one. These won't really ever be used because each one is going to detach and then will be a separate vessel. Okay, so that's enough to get started with. Let's give it a go. Okay, so we're out on the pad. I've added more struts inside the fairing. Hopefully they will help once we get higher up, but let's take off. Thrust to weight ratio without these boosters would have been about 1.3, which has still been okay, but with them it actually just helps quite a deal getting off the launch pad. And of course we're going to be heading over that way and we'll lose the boosters very soon. In fact, you can see the fuel dropping down. They do also give us around you know, another 900 delta V, which will excuse me, which will really help. Because what we're going to be doing with this rocket once we get into orbit is sending it on an elliptical orbit out towards geostationary or geosynchronous. So this will do just fine. I'm just going to throttle back a little bit and we'll just use this to get up towards orbit. Let's just drop the boosters. Where they go, they'll hit each other. That's okay, that's no problem. And we'll continue up towards orbit. So I'm going to carry on this way. I won't subject you to the rest of this. Let's skip forward until we're nearly at orbit, shall we? So here we are. We're getting towards, well, our APO's above 80 now. I want to just pull back on the throttle a little bit. That'll bring our time to APO in, make things a little bit more efficient. We don't have to worry too much about it. However, what we do have to worry about is the vibration in this whole thing once I remove the fairing. We're above the atmosphere now, so away goes the fairing. And now, you can see where I've got the struts. Now, will it actually rotate without wobbling? No, it's still wobbling. Not very much, but it is still wobbling. So I'm going to take care all the way up into orbit now and just carefully move this. It would have been nice if those three were sort of on a triple plate or something, but we'll investigate that for later. For the moment, I need to get us up into orbit. And here we are in orbit. Seemed to work out fine. It's only when I'm changing direction does this cause a problem. When I'm actually thrusting forwards, it seems to be fine as far as struts are concerned. So that should do us. Now what we're going to want to do is sort of change our orbit outwards. And we're going to push one other side of the orbit. So maybe if we push this side, because this is already the side that's highest. This is 72 kilometers. Well, maybe. I'm going to have to turn us around if I'm going to do this. But let's add a maneuver here. And let's change this maneuver to... let's actually... Am I just locked on that mode? Why can't I deselect? Don't like this. 1 second. It's just because I lost connection with the ground. This is the problem we're trying to solve. We don't want to ever lose connection with the ground. So now we need to change this. Now the orbit we're aiming for the altitude, and if this is, I think this is the altitude, not the semi-major axis, is to send this all the way up to 2863 million meters. So let's just send this up and see how far we get. We've only got 1088 in this stage, so I don't want to go any further than that. It won't be much of a problem, but let's see what we've got. So that's 1 million. That's 2 million. So 2873, we want 2863 and 2864. Doesn't matter if we're slightly off because we're going to have the station keeping mod. But 28768, let's just use the scroll wheel now just to lower ourselves. I'm just going to scroll wheel upwards. And let's see how much delta V do we need. 2863334 is the actual target, which is right around, well, about there. I'm not going to get it any closer than that. So that should be geostationary orbit, or thereabouts, as long as we're at 0 degrees inclination, which we are currently. Where's our orbital information? Inclination is very close, and we can always correct that once we're out there. It shouldn't take very much to change 0.29 degrees. Or we could change it now if we want to, but that's possible. But never mind, we'll just do it this way. So now I've got to repoint us towards the node, which is hilarious, because we don't really have much in the way of positive control. So I'm going to turn SAS off and just use the little reaction wheels that we have. Can we actually even start ourselves moving? We can. So let's just start ourselves moving over that way. And this should start us rotating. And admittedly, it's quite slow. So I'm going to jump forward until we're at the ready for the maneuver node. So here we are in the dark. So why don't we put some lights on the subject? Cool. I do like the lights that we can get with mods. Yeah, that was my sort of one weakness. I did want to get some more lights on the subject, so you hopefully should be able to see our satellites. And we're approaching the node now. We're locked in. Let's just turn on the SAS. We're depleting our electric charge, of course, but that's not, there shouldn't be too much of an issue. I'm just waiting till we hit, what, 8.5 seconds? 10, 9. All right, so you can see everything sprung into action, quite literally. Just because all this is flexible, it acts like a spring. And even with the struts. So we do have to take a little bit of care about that. And as we come down, we're going to want to just adjust ourselves a little bit. So let's just adjust ourselves, point back at the node, chase it over. And we only have to get close to this. We don't have to get it exactly on point. But let's just do that anyway, just so we got something to say okay with. And there we go. That's going to be as accurate as we can get. We're now passing behind the planet, of course, and our electric charge is sort of depleting, but we should be okay. So now the other side of our orbit, let's see how close we got. 2861, it's 2 kilometers off, even with all of that node chasing. As you expect, you don't expect to get that accurately in place. So let's get it so that we can see the sun again. Let's move to here, warp outwards. See how much that depletes our electric charge by. Quite a bit, as it turns out. Oh no, and there it goes up again. As long as we're actually accruing more electric charge, we have no problems with the rest of this orbit. Of course, each time we go around, we'll have one less satellite, but we should have less drain. Well, maybe less drain. We'll see. So now I need to go all the way out to the apoapsis, or approaching the apoapsis. So let's see how that goes. Yep, there we go. Out we go. And we're slowing down. Now, quite handily, underneath us, we have a ground station. So that's exactly what we want, just above the desert launch site, just up there. And as we approach the Apo, let's just get a bit closer, actually. What we should be able to do is get rid of our first satellite, or deploy it if you want a more technical term. So we can, let's say here, we want to decouple. All right, and now we have a satellite. Now we can switch back between them, between the square brackets, and they should both be flyable. They are. And in this one's case, I want to make sure my throttle is all the way down, and that we enable our engine. Then we're going to need to spin over, and we have some nice positive control now. Now, unfortunately, that should get turned into debris. I didn't have a decoupler small enough. Unfortunately, this only seems to be a separator, not a decoupler. And I'm just going to actually just move myself out of the way before I make a maneuver. Just a tiny, tiny amount there. And what's our inclination? 0.2. That actually reduces our inclination quite a bit. But that's okay. Now I'm just going to go towards, where is it we want to go? Prograde. And it looks like we're going backwards, but it's not. It's just that this is actually heading backwards at the moment because of where the maneuver node was. So let's just get on to this. And then we're going to need to plot another maneuver. So we do the same thing as before, right on the apoapsis. And we're going to get to 2863 on the other side, hopefully. Let's raise this up. And let's take a look around there. 28. 28 should be enough. Let's just maneuver that. That should be enough. So maneuver node is right where we want it. And the node is coming up right now. So we need to burn. Not a huge burn. We have, I think, 3,000, well, 2,000 delta V in this particular craft. So that should do just fine for getting us where we want to go. And out it goes, halfway through. And at this point, the rest of our craft is going to go down and back up again. Now, when that happens, that's going to be significantly quicker than where we are, because we're so far up and out. Let's just cut that off and let's just make sure we're in roughly the right place. Okay, and just increase that a little bit. There we go. We can chase the node a little bit here. We've got much more control over this particular craft. 2 meters per second is fine. And now we can just adjust this just by pointing at the prograde. So 28 there, 856, 858, 866. That's fine. We should be able to adjust that anyway. We don't want to go too far. And this job is done. We have a relay satellite. We don't need to do anything specifically with these, so that is fine. And our satellite is done. We do have a thermometer just in case we ever need to take some kind of science reading. But other than that, we can switch vessel. Yeah. We're going to have to go in a little bit and switch this way. Here we are. So this is the rest of our craft. So one of our satellites are deployed. Now all we really have to do is just go around once and see how far, well, the distance between these two after one revolution. So let's increase the speed somewhat and then make sure I keep an eye on our electric charge. And increase the speed. So off it goes. We're significantly faster than it, but obviously our orbit's a lot lower. Well, yeah, our orbital description are always the problem. This is orbiting much, much faster in terms of speed, but it's much further out. So we're essentially able to orbit quicker than that appears to orbit. So when we come out of here again, we're going to be at a different point in the orbit. Here we are. Now, we're not great at this particular point because that is only just visible from this one. So we could go around a few more times. That wouldn't be a problem. And what we want to do is get to a point where we arrive at here, sort of 60 degrees away from another point. Thereabouts. That's quite rough. Let me just do that off camera. And a second or third time around, I think it is, we got a much better option. That's looking much nicer. We could go around again if we want to. That's probably not quite as good still, but we could go around again if we want to. I'm not going to bother too much here as long as they've got visibility of each other. So again, we're going to go into here. Whoops, not the engine. They're going to decouple. And now we should have the same thing again. We can enable our engines. We can just point ourselves up and over somewhat. Yep, that way. So we're out of the way. And then we can point ourselves towards prograde. And again, we don't even need a maneuver node. We're right near the apo, so we can just burn. And well, you can see that's where the other satellite is. Whoops, wrong direction. Why? What? Am I controlling from the wrong place? Yeah, let me control from here. Okay, that's not the correct direction. That helps. Let's point in the right direction. Make sure you're controlling it from the right direction. Whoops, go this way. And point at the node. There we go. That's better. Heading in the right direction. So again, 2863 is what we're aiming for. We don't need a maneuver node. It's so slow up here anyway that it won't make much of a difference. And we can still able to see that just fine. So 800, 900. And then we'll be going around again. I'll do that off camera with the third satellite. We won't need to adjust too much. And then you can join me in the tracking station. Let me just slow down here now. 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. And let's just adjust that finally in towards 2.8. There we go, 2848 by 2872. Again, fine. You can see the orbits aren't quite the same as each other, and that's the precession effect I was talking in the RP1 series, and maybe in an earlier episode of this one as well, in that if we don't adjust them accurately, they will sort of, this one may slip relative to this one forwards, and that will happen if it's inside our orbit, or it'll slip backwards if it's outside our orbit, relative to each other. Okay, so now we need to adjust that after doing that third satellite. Okay, now I'm not going to show this one on camera as far as the deployment is concerned, just going to save a bit of time. However, what I am going to do is just dump our main vessel into the ocean. So we've got our periapsis there, and we can counteract this once we've deployed everything. So let's get towards the apo first of all. So let's just warp forwards. And we can see one satellite there, one there, so they're all within range. And let's just wait for that time warp complete to pass away. There it is. So now we just need to just turn ourselves to retrograde direction. Oops. Again, we need to change where we control from. Let's control from here. There we go. So we're spinning around to retrograde, which is fine. That's exactly where we want to go. And we're going to just lower this periapsis down into the atmosphere. Then we'll detach, then we'll pull it back up again. So we won't have any problems. We're just going to just do this here, and we shouldn't have any issues with, there we go. Our camera will change to show that we've gone into the planet. Okay, shouldn't have any issues. And now we can detach, decouple. And let's just make sure again, control from here. Then we're going to spin around. Just, label our engines. Let's get away from this a fair bit. Spin over, and I will do the same deployment as before. As you can see, well, I'll just show you for a second. We can get back out of the atmosphere again without too much trouble. There we go. And we have no issue there. See you back on the ground. And unfortunately, I've just been playing around with the station keeping mod. It doesn't do things as accurately as I want them to do. I want them to be exactly on where I want. And tolerance is spelled wrong, I think. In any case, we select a particular satellite, in this case the relay. I need to rename them to CommSat 1, 2, and 3 or something. But we can then, if we just up this to 1%, something like that. Yeah, there we go. 1%. Okay, so our current orbit is 2872 by 2848. So if I press set synchronous, this is basically going to set us to geosync. It's going to use some of the fuel. So it's not a free thing, it's not a cheat or anything. It does actually sort of set things correct, but it's 2874 by 2852. That's not accurate enough. And if I just change it to 0% tolerance and press it again, it's 2874 by 2852. It's not going to correct things down to the level of accuracy that I want. Now, the unfortunate part about just having those engines and no RCS is that I have very small amounts of thrust I need to do to get things more accurately than this. So you can use the caps lock control to put tiny amounts of thrusting in place with that spark engine, and you can get it more accurately than this. I'm going to do that off camera though in a traditional sense. So for now, unless anyone knows a way to get this much more accurate, it doesn't seem to want to let me select 0% tolerance and just set it exactly where I want it. Oh well, that's something I wasn't expecting, but it should work fine. So I will do that manually. And as you might imagine, the manual version is very much just carefully changing it like this. And it doesn't let us get exact with the RCS and tiny amounts of RCS at that. So, but we can just flip ourselves back over again and get close-ish, just not on target, again without editing save files. So I would love a way to do that. If anyone knows a way to do that, or even including that station keeping mod, then I am very happy to hear it. Let me just get on target and we'll get roughly where we want. So just a tiny bit. Nope, and we've gone over it again. Close enough, and I'll see if we can refine things before that. So just the last point, right click on your probe and rename. We're going to set ourselves to a relay, that's fine, and just call ourselves KComm or KComm KComm Satellite 1? KCS 1? Yeah, that'll do. KCS 1, our first of our 3 comm sites in Kerbal orbit. So here we are with a little bit of modification. We've got, let's just select KCS 1, so that is just fine, 2864, 2863. KCS 2 is 2867 by 2863. Could do with a little bit more adjustment there if we wanted to. And KCS 3 is, 2862 by 2864. Again, I've also changed the inclinations. I've gone to the ascending descending nodes. If you wondered how to do that when you're around Kerbal, by the way, because you can't select Kerbal because you're already around Kerbal, the easy trick to do there is just to select the moon as the target, and that'll show you the ascending and descending nodes quite easily, because the moon is on the same inclination as Kerbal's equator, so you can see those easily. Otherwise, there's a few other tricks you can do without mods, but other than that, we've got a fairly decent network. Yes, it's not an exact equilateral triangle, but as long as they don't precess, as long as they're in visibility range of each other, they may not have great service, but until we get the better antennas, but they're okay for a CommSat network. And I think that's all we really need for this episode. I don't want to start another mission because it would take too long, it would run on too long, so I'll leave it for this episode, leave it a little bit shorter than normal, and next episode we should be able to get back to, I think, various missions, because we're going to need, well, not only missions, but science. I'm going to want to unpack some of these nodes, and that's going to need probably maybe some, I think we're going to do some minmus hopping around and getting some science over there, and that's probably a good thing to have a much larger launcher. So I'll see you then, and yeah, as normal, feel free to like, subscribe and share. as you normally would. Leave comments, particularly if you've got any suggestions about a replacement for that station keeping mod. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.